Hello, everybody. I am Nicole Hennessy. I'm the Vice President and Director of Communications at the Music Business Association. So glad to have you guys here today for our Music Biz Passport series. It's a series that highlights music communities across the globe. We learn what does and does not work in those local music communities and how we can work with them to make a better global music business. Today, we're here for Unlocking French Opportunities in Hip Hop. It's presented by CMN, your French music partner. Before I introduce our panelists, I do have a couple housekeeping things I wanted to go over with you guys. If you're new to attending our Music Biz events series, welcome. We definitely love having you as part of our community. We have a number of different resources. As I said, the Passport is where we talk about our global music communities. Our Common Ground webinar series is where our members showcase their products and services. Keeping Tempo is our blog series, and The Future of What is our podcast series. There's so much more that we do as well to create those important conversations about the future of the global music industry. Everything can be found at musicbiz.org. The webinar series that I talked about and our blogs and our podcast are all free to members and to non-members. So check them out. There might be some information there that you will find very, very valuable. So today, during our presentation, you have two boxes on the bottom of your screen. One is a chat box and one is a questions box. That chat box is where you can introduce yourselves to others that are listening in today. So feel free, let people know that you're here, where you're from, your company, your country. Just say hello to each other. You may find some partners in there. And the questions box, that's where you're going to communicate with these four faces that are on the screen here today. Ask questions. Please feel free to ask them something that wasn't clear during the presentation, or if you have a question that takes it further in depth, please do put your questions in that Q&A box. That's where Kiana, our moderator, will find those, and at the end, they have saved some time for Q&A. So without further ado, please let me welcome Kiana, Mahaut, Ben, and Samuel. I think you guys are in for a great presentation. I thank our panelists for their time and their expertise today. So I will let you guys turn on your cameras and take it away.
All righty, perfect. Everybody good? Everybody good? Okay. Hello, y'all. Good afternoon or evening. I'm Kiana Fitzgerald, and I am so glad to be here with you today for Music Biz Passport, where the mission is all about connecting global music communities and learning from one another. This panel, as we just learned, is called Unlocking French Opportunities in Hip Hop, Get a Foot in the Door. And as many, but maybe not all of you know, hip hop has grown far beyond its birthplace in the Bronx. It's now one of the most dominant genres in the world and the top genre in the US. And today we're focusing on a fascinating market that's often underdiscussed in US industry circles, France. France is now the second biggest hip hop market in the world for hip hop, and it has produced some of the most innovative and successful artists in the global music scene. From grassroots support for the arts to unique cultural dynamics, France has built a music economy that deserves our attention, especially now with the visibility brought by the Paris 2024 Olympics. Today's conversation is about unlocking those opportunities, understanding what makes the French market different, learning how artists are breaking across borders, and exploring how US and French executives can collaborate to make the global music business even stronger. I am so thrilled to be joined by three brilliant panelists who bring different perspectives on this ecosystem. I'm still new to French, please forgive me, and I don't want to disrespect anybody by butchering your names. So, Mao, Samuel, and Ben, please introduce yourselves in that order and explain what you do and why this topic is important to you.
So I guess I'm first. So hi everyone, I'm Mahaut Dufour, very French as you can hear. I have two main activities. I'm working as an artist manager. I currently represent four artists, so it would be two producers. And so it's settled. One of them is called Black Doe and is signed with Samuel. So we often work together. And the other one is called Taisis, and I also represent two singers, rappers, who do sing and rap in English, which is quite a challenge when it comes to France, but like we are going to discuss that for sure. And beside that, I'm head of development at Artistic Palace, which is the biggest studio complex in Paris, with like 14 studios and one photo studio as well. That's for me. And why I'm always like happy to be in this kind of panels for sure. Like the topic is super interesting. I know Samuel and Ben, and it's always a pleasure to talk with them and also with you, Kiana. And I think it's like the French market is super interesting, but there is so much more to do to connect it with other markets. So yeah, that's why we're here.
Thank you.
Hello everyone, I'm Samuel Suédois. I'm an A&R from Universal Music Publishing France. I've been an A&R now for like 3 years. I'm actually celebrating my third year this month, so yeah, that's cool. I've been working across many genres, especially hip hop, rap, Afro music, Caribbean music, because I'm from Guadeloupe, I'm Caribbean, and some pop music also, and some French pop music. Working with songwriters, producers, like artists that are also writers for them and writers for other people. And this topic is very important to me because I kind of see the music in a very global way, and I think that's a way to start the conversation and to bridge our both territories between the US and France. Yeah.
Perfect.
Hi, my name's Ben Ling. As you might be able to tell from my accent, I'm not French, but I'm actually from the UK, from near Cambridge originally. My background is that I started out as a musician, as an artist. I was playing in a lot of different bands in the UK and also in France. So I guess that's really where my kind of link to the French music scene started. But after a few years of playing in different bands, I actually ended up working in London in the UK music industry, in starting out in record stores, selling vinyl, and then working in for some very small little independent labels, and then working in across marketing, PR, working for a little time in publishing as well in London. And then I ended up working for a French organization called Le Bureau Export de la Musique Française, which was like the French music export office. So I was helping French companies to develop their talent and their rosters outside of France into the UK and the Irish markets. Then I ended up getting a transfer to the Berlin office, which is where I'm currently based in Berlin in Germany. And I've been there for a little bit longer than I had initially imagined, I think, but it's a great place to be, and I enjoy it very much. I'm delighted to be on the panel today. We were very lucky to have Kiana over to France last year, where she did lots of interviews with French music industry executives, and also ended up at a really cool awards show in Paris called Les Flammes, which I'm sure we'll cover later. So it's really cool to find Kiana again, and great to see Mahaut and Samuel. Coming back to why this topic's important, I would say that ultimately, for me, I'm just really passionate about like the creativity in France. You know, what the enormous kind of well of talent that is in France. I think there's a huge diversity of sound in the French market that's untapped, that's not really discovered yet for a large part outside of France. There's a great level and quality of production, composers, rappers, and these are all kind of commercial opportunities that exist, which I think really there's a lot of potential for synergies with and for crossover. It's coming back to the CNM part, like the CNM itself. CNM stands for Centre National de la Musique, so it's the French National Music Centre. You can find out a lot online about it. I don't want to go into too much detail, but just to give you a very quick overview, it's essentially a state institution. So it's supported by the French Ministry for Culture, and also from two taxes which exist in France. There's one tax which comes from ticketing. It's a ticketing tax. There's a small percentage of every ticket which is sold in France from live music comes into the CNM organization, and then is also like spread out into grassroots and throughout the whole music industry in France. And there's another tax in France which covers streaming and DSPs. So all the DSPs are taxed a small percentage as well, and all of that's funded, thrown back into the French music industry through funding, and is given out back to the majors, big indies, small indies, and so on and so on. So the CNM really exists to support the French music industry, to cover areas like international development, professional training, ecological transition, so on and so on. But anyway, as I said, you can find out more online. I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank y'all for introducing yourselves. So I'm going to move through this section by section, and this first section will be setting the scene of the French hip hop market. So Ben, my first question goes to you. For those who may not be familiar, can you give us a quick overview of how France became the world's second largest hip hop market and what makes its ecosystem unique?
Yeah, it's a great question, Kiana. I think well, France, as you mentioned, is the world's second biggest rap market. But I think it's really because like hip hop it's not just music, of course. It's a whole culture. So it's tied more to like identity, I think, in France. It's tied to youth culture. It's tied to things like social expression as well. And also bearing in mind that France is a huge streaming power. You know, like France is the fifth biggest recorded music market in the world. So I think that the demographic diversity as well, it comes down to also like the French language. I think what I was very interested in was like when you came to France, Kian, and you like were talking to a lot of the French music executives. We're talking a lot about, or was reading a lot about hip hop arriving in France, obviously, like in the 80s, and very inspired by a lot of the big US stars, a lot of the big up US artists, like Sugar Hill Gang, Grandmaster Flash, and so on. And I think the great thing about the French scene has always been that they don't necessarily copy exactly what's going on in other places, but they also take their own identity and they add to what exists already. So, talking about like things that really concern the French population, talking about immigration, talking about discrimination, politics, life in the suburbs, in the banlieue in France as well is a very big topic as well. French rap's also always had like a very strong sense of identity through French language as well. It doesn't necessarily go straight to English, or really focuses on French and is proud of French language, using slang, using like words from local dialects and different countries. So there's all of that, which is kind of part of what makes French hip hop, makes French rap kind of stand out, I think, from other markets, and makes it quite unique, really.
Mm-hmm.
I think France has also got a very young demographic as well. It's one of the youngest populations in Europe, and has like a huge kind of mix of cultures from all over the world that pass through France, which helps give it a kind of unique sound as well. So yeah, it's all those kind of things coming together. I think help make it kind of a big market with quite a lot of weight and also quite a lot of influence.
Absolutely. Thank you. Mao, from your perspective as a manager and CEO, how do French audiences engage with their homegrown artists compared to international acts?
Yes. Okay. So I think Ben mentioned it a little bit, but like the importance of the French language, I think is like the very like basic thing to know when it comes to France. So people really like tend to listen to French music or music that is like in French. And it's for like great number of reasons, like the most obvious one being like the language itself. But even like France had like a regulation on the radio. So like I think it's 80%, Sam or Ben, if you can like correct me if I'm wrong. 80% of the music that is played on the radio needs to be French, otherwise they like the radio station they will pay fines.
60.
So 60?
Yeah.
Okay. 60. My bad. But it's already like a lot. And so that like set the basic, and like as I mentioned when I introduced myself, I represent this rapper called Sikadeva, who's from like France and several countries in Africa. It's a bit complicated, but anyway, and he does rap in English. And when we started out, I was really frustrated all the time, like oh my god, like those labels, those publishers, they won't take risk. They're so stupid. It's exactly the same to develop an artist that is singing in English than it's to develop someone who is singing in French. And then like I don't know, like to give you an idea, like a few months ago, 2 months ago, I went to a Schoolboy Q concert.
Love him.
Schoolboy Q.
Yes.
Like the venue was l'Élysée Montmartre. It's a 1,500 people capacity venue.
Wow.
So you would never expect that, and it's crazy. And it was not even sold out like on the D-Day, you know. I think he actually like did 2 of those days, but it's like 3K people, you know, for Schoolboy Q, and it's
Yeah.
crazy. And everything is the same. Like you will see Smino in the same venue. You will see like all those artists, like Black. He played like Le Bataclan. Was it's the same. It's 1.5K and those kind of things. So especially when it comes to rap, and I think another like thing that is very important is that we have like a great offer in France. So there is like the language issue, but I think if you only listen to French music, you can really like go for like so many things. Obviously, like it depends on when. Like for instance, now our French R&B is starting to be cool, but we've had like a few years where there was not so much. So if you were like an R&B enthusiast, you would definitely need to look at the UK, at the US, even South Korea. But like, and it starts to like evolve, but people tend to really like go after like French artists, in my opinion. I don't know, like if Samuel and Ben have more like insights. It's a like hard question, I think.
Yeah, I feel what Mao is saying. I mean, that's a very local market. We consume French, we drink French, what we listen is French, and we less and less consume music from the US, especially rap music. I don't know. For the last like years, the hip hop audience is not that in tune with what's really going on in the US right now. So they consume a lot of French rap.
Yeah, and also like the French artists, they have like their target, like their market is obviously France, but we also have like Belgium, Switzerland, and a lot of countries in Africa that still speak
Okay.
French. So like the audience is very, very broad.
Mhm.
So you can live very well out of just being listened by people who speak French, and that's it, you know.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I would agree with that. I think the market has grown up a lot over the last few years, and there's kind of solidity to what people are listening to locally. But I think also in terms of like collaboration, I'm sure we'll talk a bit more about collaboration later, but a lot of the big French rappers and artists, they tend to, if they do collaborate with international artists, they quite often collaborate quite closer to home. So they collaborate maybe with more Spanish artists or Italian artists or Belgian artists, and so you have this kind of ecosystem within Europe where there's a lot of back and forth and a lot of streaming going on between the countries. But I think it's there's also a kind of shared level, like kind of respect almost as well between artists and producers. I think a lot of like, for example, just to give one example, we run a kind of hip hop kind of residency or camp in the Netherlands near Amsterdam a couple of times a year, and there's this kind of real desire from the Netherlands based, from the Dutch rappers and producers. They all know what's going on in France. You know, they already know the sounds and they know who's producing what, and they're very kind of up to date on, you know, on the latest productions. And I think there's this kind of constant interest and desire to find out more about what's going on locally. So I think there's this kind of constant movement of and like mobility of sounds around Europe at the moment, which is really fresh and exciting, definitely.
Thank y'all. I appreciate you opening it up to everybody. Samuel, as an A&R, what trends are you seeing in how French hip hop songs are being written and produced today as compared to the past?
To my point of view, to answer your question, there is two major change that I'm seeing is the fact that one, hip hop music uses more and more music from other genres to to create. Like they get more and more influenced by like Caribbean music, such as chata, bouillon, or even compa or zouk, from African music. And even though they are like there is like rappers, the rappers are like infusing melodies or flows from those other genres, and I feel like it gives us a more broad proposition. So that's one, and two, more and more like hip hop artists are very much in tune with using top liners and songwriters, which was like very prohibited in even globally as a whole, as the art of rap, like to use someone else to write your lyrics or write your melody or your flow. But we tend to see that more and more people using like that, and they become more and more respected in the hip hop space. I feel like that's the two major like trends that we see now.
Mm.
The third might be people creating music for a purpose. Like you can see, I be in sessions where like artists, rappers, or producers, or top liners or writers, they are in the studio and they are already thinking about, we doing this music for TikTok, or we doing this music for the show and stuff. And they do it like music, like very purpose based more than before.
Mhm. Thank you. I appreciate you explaining that. Okay, we're going to move into the next section, which is about artist development and global reach. So, Mao, my first question is for you. Could you share, you've talked about a couple of the artists that you work with already, but could you share a specific success story of an artist you've managed or worked with who has expanded beyond France, and what factors made that possible?
Yes, so I think the example is quite easy. We'll talk about Black Doe, the producer I mentioned earlier that we work on together now with Samuel. With Black Doe, we've been working together for 6, 7 years maybe. Really was like the beginning for him and me. I was like already managing artists, but super scared to manage a producer. I had like no clue what it meant. But we connected because he wanted to do this project with South Korea. So he wanted to like produce an album as a producer, but like produce an artist and invite a vocalist from South Korea. So that's how it started. It was very, very hard. We had like absolutely no money at the time. So we did everything remotely and we sent, I don't know, like maybe 500 emails to end up and DMs and everything to end up with like 7 tracks. So it was complicated and it was right also at the moment where COVID came up and stuff. So it was completely impossible to go there. So we just had the time to send a photographer there to take pictures. So we built like this, but we had like, I don't know, like 10K tops for this project was like really, so it took us like 3 years to do that. And we actually like, it helped us get a bit noticed and grow his Instagram profile and bring more people who were into K-pop and K-R&B on his profile. And and he started to like help have like a proper image, you know. And thanks to that, then we did a remix album on SoundCloud. So he was remixing K-pop, but with his more like Afrobeat Caribbean vibe. So it was like super nice, and we connected with artists like that remotely again. And it's how we came up with our first cut in Korea with the rapper PH1. Very cool track. And it was the first time we like really like sold the beat over there. Like having no idea on how much you should sell it, especially as like it's very different, very different from like how what you get paid in France for selling a beat, and those kind of things. And then was the time where I wanted to like have a publisher, like bigger publisher, join our team, especially because like going there, just like being him and me being like two independent artists and me manager and thing was a bit tough, when you come to like this big market that's Korea, and we just knew a few people. So that's how one of the criteria that made me choose Samuel, because he was willing to do these crazy trips with us and try to open the Korean market. And also with Universal, they had the money. And let's say, let's be honest, when you want to develop internationally, having a bit of money dedicated to that, that's one of the things that I loved with the deal we made. We had like a specific budget per year for like travel expenses. So it was really like just for that. And then in the way you develop your year, you build up your strategy. It's really like a mindset that you have all together. And so yeah, and then we had the opportunity finally to go there, book some sessions. First year was like very, very hard. So we had to, I would have had to know more about the culture before going there. I had like talked with people. I had like, we knew the music scene, but it's so different. We didn't realize how much like when you're far, it's like people can tell you. I had read like an amazing research published by CNM where it was written big that like the major like were not that big there, but when you see that and then you go there and then you realize like the size of the buildings when it comes to like SM or IB or GYP, and then you have like 15 people or 20 people working at Sony, and you're like, oh wow, okay. So it's a whole new realm to learn when you want to enter a new market, and we kind of learned that the hard way. But now every time we go there, it's better, and we have more like sessions, and then we get cuts, and then still like few things that are hard to grasp because like of the cultural differences and stuff like that. But yeah, I think it's and also it worked at first because Black Dog really digged in the culture, I think.
Yeah.
He was just like, oh, I like R&B, and like K R&B is cool, we started with the music, but then we went like watching like K drama. We did like the clothing and then the food and then everything. It's like a whole mindset to get, and I think it really helps and it makes you very motivated in like developing very well in this country when you are interested by the culture in general.
Thank you. Thank you. Samuel, I don't know if you wanted to speak to that. I have a question for you, but if you want to provide your opinion on what she just said, I'm more than open to hearing it.
No, we can get to the. I just wanted to say that Maho is very, very right. Is the fact that when you want to go in another territory, you have to be immersed in that, in the culture for it to be more like fruitful. If not, you just are going to be lost in the sauce by not knowing how people work or talk or how they react to certain things. One of the thing that I was most surprised with is the fact that they did not like they wasn't as enthusiastic as us as to listen to the music, and that was very, very frustrating in the beginning, but we understood that they just have different way to listen to music, and they are very calm when they listen to music because they feel like if they move a little bit, they have something to give you. They need to give you like a cut or a session. They have to give you something. So yeah, that's
Yeah,
it.
that was like it's a real trauma for me.
Yeah.
Like I did like 3 meetings with A&R, like they were listening to like big R&B, and they were like, I was like, okay, so it went really bad. I don't know what's going on here. So I think it's good if you know it before you go.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for that. Okay. So, Samuel, I'll continue with you. How has publishing helped French hip hop artists break internationally, whether through songwriting collaborations, syncs, or other strategies?
Um, I feel like French publishers, sometimes we feel like we have a very minimal take on the fact that like French artists break internationally, but what we do on a daily basis is the fact that we always organize sessions with artists internationally. Our main the main thing that we bring to the table is finance, of course, because of how our deals are structured. And so we tend to give the artist a little a budget for them to travel and to see other territories where the music is working. So we usually work hand to hand with the label to help with the writing here and there when they have some promo in different territories, and we tend to connect them with like other teams, other managers, other like artists or other publishers on ground of the territories that they target. I feel like that's our main thing, more than just helping with sync and that other stuff, because in France things are kind of slow for especially for hip hop in that space, because right now people are still using like more US based hip hop music, because they feel like the majority of the people will resonate more to that than French rap music. And the most of French rap music sometimes get to have explicit content, so it's very difficult, and there's more work to do on in that part, but it's evolving. Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate your insight. Ben, my question for you is, from an institutional standpoint, how has the CNM supported artists who want to take their music globally?
Yeah, thanks. So as I mentioned earlier, the CNM is, for the most part, is financed by the French Ministry for Culture. So it's like a governmental institution, essentially. So what that means is that the CNM really is there to support the entirety of the French industry, from like covering all genres, going from like the majors, the big indies and small indies, even to like self-produced artists as well. So the idea is that it's really covering everybody in all genres. So in that sense, there are lots and lots of different ways that the CNM can help French artists. And when I say French artists, actually, I should be a little bit more specific. It's not necessarily about like whether the artist is a French, like has a French passport or speaks in French. It's actually more to do whether the artist has a deal with a French company. So we work with a lot of international artists who are actually signed to, to a French major, to a French indie. But as long as they have that kind of deal, that signed contract with a French company, then we kind of accept them as being part of the French system. The idea behind that being that does then incite whatever kind of work they do, whether it's in France, whether it's internationally, there's always generating some sort of revenue that comes back into the French industry, ultimately helping it to grow and helping that kind of creative industry to grow. So kind of to give you some slightly more tangible ways that the CNM helps companies and artists. One is that there are, for international, so helping the French artists and the French companies to develop internationally. We have two different funding rounds. So one covers like helping to cover tour support, helping to cover promo support, helping to cover marketing. So it could be like digital marketing and so on. It could be like a radio campaign, all that kind of stuff. And the CNM basically can help to cover up to 50% of those costs. So we're always looking for the French company to match the funding, so that we know that there's this kind of strategy and this real investment coming from the French company, because they believe in, it shows that they believe in their artists, and then we can be there, the CNM can be there to kind of complement and to kind of bring up the funding up to 100% to help to cover some of the costs and to essentially to lower the financial risk for some of the French companies that are investing in international. So we have one round of funding which goes up to 25,000 euros per dossier, and we have another one which is for slightly bigger, more established artists, which goes up to 80,000 euros. So obviously, when you talk about 80,000 euros, it sounds like quite a lot, but that does mean that the French company would need to be investing 80,000 euros themselves to be able to get that 80,000 funding from the CNM. Beyond that kind of help, there are also different pots which help actually help the songwriters themselves, so composers, songwriters, which is there really to help cover costs for doing sessions, to help buy like instruments, software, all that kind of stuff, which can go up to 5,000, 10,000 euros, depending. And then beyond that, yeah, we try and put together specific kind of operation specific projects every year, a bit like the one in the Netherlands that I was mentioning, where we try and bring out French producers, French rappers, working with French companies to help them to kind of get new contacts, new networks in different countries, and we do that throughout the year in different countries, which is always I think well received, and you know, obviously, like the work that Samuel and Mahaut does is so important. You know, getting those kind of connections and finding ways to get new opportunities for their rosters. Essentially, it's a long job. It takes a lot of effort and investment. So I think anything that we can do to be able to accompany that is always helpful. And one final thing I'd like to mention as well was that as part of the CNM, there's also like we have a department which is really dedicated to like research, and like it's almost like it's like a think tank, research, that kind of thing. And every year they come together and publish a report on rap, like a rap kind of focus on the French industry. So this focus, it kind of provides like an overview of rap in France in like the previous year. So it kind of pulls data from production, distribution, consumption, how the sector's structured. And it's kind of exists to, like, I don't know, to strengthen the support for all the stakeholders in the sector. So like trying to just explain more what's happening and who's doing what and what kind of numbers are looking like at the moment. So I'll drop a link to it in the chat. It's in French, but you know, if you use kind of your DeepL, Google Translate, ChatGPT stuff, you'll be able to get a bit of an idea of what the report is like. But yeah, that's kind of an interesting one to just to give you a little bit more data.
And if I can add, because like
Yeah.
I can be like a witness of your work here with us in France, it really like help us also like connect with the many people from outside of France. Like it's thanks to you that I met with Kiana like last year, and also you recommend us at panels and for like conferences and stuff like that. So thanks to you, I went to, I think, Toronto, to Saskatoon, Canada, to Seoul, to a few places where every time I met new people, and it's like really helping like independent and not independent people, like executive from the industry, connect with other people around the world. So thank you, Ben.
Thank you. You guys do all the heavy lifting, really. So it's all good.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you so much. So we're moving toward the end of our session. So I want to ask one question to the whole panel, and then I'll get into these Q&A questions. I think we have two. So I will ask, let me get to the question. So if you had to give US executives or collaborators one golden rule for working in the French hip hop market, what would it be? Feel free to take it away, anybody who wants to answer first.
Maybe know the way it works here. So I don't know, like the main differences would be like, obviously, like maybe Samuel will be more precise than me on that, but like the whole like publishing system where, like, you know, in France, like as an artist, as like the person who has written a song, you will never be able to sell those rights. In France, it's illegal by law. So it's like a very big difference in the way you make business. And I think it's something that you need to have in mind. Also, me on my like producer, like representing producer thing, like the fees are a bit different. It's cool for like US executive. It's most of the time it's cheaper. But most of the time you would give out royalty share, like points, like between 2 and 3. So it's something really like when you work with like people from the US or like with South Korea, they really like don't go for that. So it's a bit different here. Yeah, I don't know. What else?
I would say like one big tip would be, like, even if you're just slightly interested in what's happening in France, would just be to come to Paris, come to France, see what's going on, meet as many people as you can. And I think like all of us on this panel, like Mahaut, Samuel, and me, we'd be very happy to to introduce you to people. You know, as soon as you show an interest, people are like excited, I think, in general. But once you're in Paris, it's like obviously aside from like the amazing touristy things you can do and all the great food and wine you can have, like all of them, most of the big companies are based in Paris, so you can have a very efficient 2 or 3 days of meetings. Mahaut runs these great studios in Paris as well, so you can go and check out studios, see where all the rappers and where the producers are working. And being on the ground gives you like a really strong idea of who's doing what and what the kind of current trends are. So I would say physically going out, maybe you've got a holiday coming up next summer and you're like, okay, I'm going to add a few more days onto that and I'm going to do some meetings in Paris. And, we can definitely help to facilitate that for sure. I think that's always a really nice way to do it. I think like there are a couple of really cool festivals as well in France that are well worth checking out. Like there's one in Paris called Yardland, which has just been doing like 2 years now, and it's like a real kind of it's gaining a lot of momentum. It's very representative of the French scene at the moment, and it's just a great vibe, and I would highly recommend checking that out. There's another one that I don't know so much about, which is called Golden Coast in near Dijon, which also has a really good lineup as well. I haven't been to that one, so I can't recommend it personally. I don't know, Mao and Samuel, have you guys been to that one?
No, me not this year.
No, me neither.
No?
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
got a sick lineup
And
though. It's got a very nice lineup.
the lineup was amazing. And also maybe wanted to add, even though I'm like not telling you it's like 100% like the best idea, but something that we've seen, especially like me with Artistic Palace, is that fashion weeks are like a very like key moment. And what is good if you come at Fashion Week, like the downside is that so many people come to Fashion Week. So like the flights are more expensive, the flats are more expensive, and people are like everywhere. But at the same time, if you come and you're not from France, you will find people from your country. You will have like other people from the US in town, so it will help because you can join like something. And it's like really this moment where like last June the studio was booked 24/7 almost. Like every studio we have 14 rooms like all the time, and just like people like walking like here, and there are a lot of people from the UK as well, a lot of people from the US, a lot of French people, a lot of people from outside in Europe. So we have like 6 fashion weeks in Paris, but I would say like the two bigger ones when it comes to like people from the music scene flying to Paris would be the one in January. So I guess it's like a spring, summer, men, and then the one end of June, which is like men, obviously again men, for winter. But so it's like a good moment to come, and also like for instance like the one in June is right next to Fête de la Musique, which is like the music day in France. You might have seen it on TikTok, I guess, especially as it used to be very boring and kind of cringe like 10 years ago. And then after COVID, everyone was like, we want to party, we want to have like everyone playing and DJing in the streets. So it went very big. And so every brand has an event. So you as an international artist, you will probably have like or executive, you will have for sure like international brands coming to Paris. So you have like all this coming up, and it's really like a few days away from Fashion Week. So I think it's very fun.
Thank
in my
you.
opinion, at least.
Yeah. Samuel, do you have any tips for anyone looking to break in?
If you're an artist, I feel like the best way to connect with the French market is to connect artist to artist. That's the best way. If you're a manager or a publisher, just I think the or a label, I think the best way to go for the French market is to contact publishers because I feel like publishers have more to earn or to gain from the relationship that you're trying to start. And
And they still pay for studio sessions as well.
yeah,
Compared to
usually
labels, I can say it as like
exactly.
a
As a
studio, you
publisher,
guys invest.
yeah. As a publisher, when foreigners contact us, we can say like we have studios if you want to work or to connect with our artists or writers or producers. So it's usually easy when the manager contact me, say, I'm coming with this kind of producer, this kind of artist, this kind of writer to Paris. Do you want to meet or do you want him to work with your artist? because I have studios. I usually work with artistic palace studios, of course, and we have studios of our own also, and it's easier to connect and to start the conversation very much on a creative base. And the last thing that I'm gonna say is the fact that French people are very like big on not paying that much for a beat or for what people doing are doing on the song. So the rates are very different. They usually don't tend to give people royalties, and it can be difficult once you start talking about this kind of stuff and of business stuff. But once you get that foot on the door, and people are very loyal and they want to work with you again and again. So yeah.
Thank you, thank you, thank you all. So that concludes my questions. I see the questions in the Q&A, so I'm going to open up the discussion to the panelists. The first question that I'm going to address is from Brianna Dickerson. She says, Christian hip hop music is growing rapidly in the US. How would you describe the Christian hip hop market in France? Is there a demand or space for it? If so, what are the tips you have for entering into that market in France?
Market is big, is
Yeah.
growing at least.
The-
Especially like in my opinion, from what I've seen, like Christian R&B,
yeah,
like
it's more
big.
Christian R&B or Christian like Afro
Yeah.
music, not just hip hop, Christian hip hop. Because in France, hip hop is very infused by different other genres, and we still label it as hip hop because they from the same demographic. But the things that we see is that the fact that gospel music is growing up, especially with Christian R&B music, such as NK Divine, who is the biggest right now. He just sold out a 20K people venue, and
Wow.
that's really big, but it's growing and people are demanding, and yeah, it's cool. Yeah.
I think what is interesting regarding to the question is that so it's really booming at the moment, and what is fun is that we start only now to have an offer when it comes to like Christian hip hop, you know. Before, like anyone that was into that was listening to like US artists basically,
Yeah.
because like the scene was really like very low key, and it's but I think like the people in like the audience in France who listens to that like keeps on listening to people from the US. So I think there is for sure a market here, especially as like that now big French artist has came out. So I think it's exciting, and even like on the artistic collaborations, I think there is a lot that can be done, especially like with like the producing side, and also for like musicians. I think they can really connect, and you have spaces for that. So I think yeah, it's a great way to come in.
Thank you, thank you. Okay, next question is from Marie Olo. Quentin Henry, that's the next question. What's the environment like for artists breaking into sync and or connecting with brands in France?
Mm.
If
Breaking into sync, I think you don't really have like a perfect recipe anywhere in the world. And but the cool thing that you have as being a non-French speaking artist is that it's what people want to use in their ad and in their movie most of the time. We have like a few French films and series that will include French speaking music, but it's very rare. So basically, if you have like a catalog in English, you could contact, in my opinion, any music supervisor in France, and they will be interested in like knowing your songs and representing you, non like exclusively, you know. But yeah, I think it's really what they're looking for. Like they're always looking for like music that is not in French. So there is
Mhm.
something to be done there, I think.
There are also a couple of events in the kind of calendar in France, which are quite dedicated to like to sync, especially across like film, series, and so on. One is Les Arcs, which is in like a ski resort. Yeah, it's pretty nice if you can get to that one. But that's quite a key one. And there's another one also called Les Sœurs Jumelles, which is also becoming bigger and bigger for like basically where like music and image kind of come together. So I think those are two quite key moments where you would find a lot of French, obviously a lot of French publishers, but also a lot of people working crossing, a lot of music supervisors and so on. Not just French, but also there are quite a few internationals who attend both of these as well. So you'd be getting a lot of content and a lot of connections if you were to attend either of those.
Yeah. And when it comes to brand, I think you guys, most of you, I think, are from the US, so we will not teach you how it works, you know. We are very not super fast with that. It's starting just like now to have like those huge connections between like brands and artists. You know, like but it's only, I think only majors here have like a brand department. I don't know, Samuel, if you have heard of any independent label that has like really someone focusing on that. But like there are more and more like agents, managers who really tend to specialize on that because like on the with the economical situation at the moment, like who still has money is brands. So it's really like they're becoming key targets for everyone. So it might be a bit tough like as a US artist and stuff to try to approach French brands because basically everyone in France is after them already. But I think it's worth a try, and like they always like to have like something that is uncommon and like not like what they can have like at home, you know.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I add that the best way might be to target the smaller agencies and the music supervisors or the ad agencies such as Yard also or
Mm-hmm.
small agencies like that because they know both cultures and they can present the music and make connection between both worlds.
Mhm.
And what I was about to say, sorry. Um, yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate everybody providing their input. I think we have time for one, maybe two more questions, depending on how this goes. Next up is from Maria Lozano. She says, my question is for Ben. What kind of support can the CNM give to Haitian artists? At this moment in Haitian history, they could really use the support of the music community.
Yeah, it's a really good, lovely question. Thank you. In terms of supporting artists from Haiti, I think what I would say is just just to reach out to me. I'd be happy to talk about any sort of. I think it's very much kind of case by case, really, depending on what the person needs. But coming back to like the role of the CNM, what I mentioned earlier, like if you want to kind of be able to access like the full spectrum of all of the support from the French like music industry organization, the CNM, you do really need to be signed with a French company, and from that point on, then it's all kind of quite smooth. Obviously, we recognize hugely that for French companies to be able to export, you also need to be like reciprocal and help people trying to enter the market as well. So that's why I'm always super open to discussions, to being able to like link people and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, got my email address. Feel free to hit me up if you've got specific questions about how to get into the French market. I'd be more than happy to spend some time having a chat about that.
Thank you. Okay. Next question is from Brittany Muir. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. I'm sorry if I'm not. Will you all be watching the Netflix documentary regarding the winners of another thing I might say incorrectly, Nouvelle École? Are the winners successful in the French rap industry?
Yeah, we
Really,
always watch Nouvelle École. I mean, that's something that is very popular here in France because the juries are very, very, very liked by the especially the young audience. Myself, I signed maybe two of the candidate from Nouvelle École from one from season two and the other from the third season, I think. Yeah. And I mean, they a bit successful because one of them has one platinum single, another one platinum single and two gold single. The other has um two gold single and a sold out like tour. But that was cool. For a publisher, it's cool. It's not as successful as the artists that are not from Nouvelle École, but they have their own economy and it's good for the publishing business, I think. Yeah.
Yeah,
Just to give you context, like Nouvelle École, the US version is rhythm and flow.
rhythm and flow.
So
Yeah.
yeah. The French one's Nouvelle École is sick. And like my wife is British as well, but she absolutely loves watching Nouvelle École. She's obsessed with it. It's like watched all the series.
Yeah,
Definitely, you should definitely check it out.
Yeah, you should watch it. The next season is going to be released by the end of October, and all the episodes in the studio are shot at Artistic Palace. And I think I'm gonna watch the What Do They Become series. I think it's always cool and like we all we know them, you know, we see them around. So I think it's cool to have this comeback for them. And it just made me I just remembered something. Billboard was launched in France back in I think it was around 6 months ago or something like that. So I think a lot of people want to have insight on and data and know the top artists and stuff, especially when it comes to rap, because obviously rap and hip hop are the biggest genres in France. I think you can get a lot of information and know what's hot in France by following Billboard France on Instagram. I would advise. It's obviously in French, but everyone knows it's super easy to translate on Instagram now. So yeah, I think it's nice.
All right. Anybody else have any insights before I wrap this on up? No, we're good. All right. Well, thank y'all so much for joining us. That's all the time we have for today. And a huge, huge thank you to the panelists, Mao, Samuel, and Ben for your expertise and your experience. If you would like to continue this conversation, you can connect with us through the emails that I think have been shared at this point. And also, if you need anything else, just hit us up. And the CNM in particular is a great place to start if you're interested in learning more about the French market. So, on behalf of the Music Business Association and the Music Biz Passport team, thank you for being a part of this global exchange. I hope you leave here feeling inspired, curious, and ready to explore what's next in international hip hop. Thank you. And thank you
Thank
all.
you.
Thank you,
I
everyone.
couldn't have summed it up any better. Kiana, that was a perfect kind of exit there after that wonderful conversation. So thank you all so much. I greatly enjoyed listening to the conversation, and thank you to all the attendees that stuck with us and listened and asked questions. We greatly appreciate it. Have a great rest of your afternoon.